Hey, what's up, everybody? Joe Castello back. Time to talk a little NHRA Camping World Drag Racing here on WFO Radio. If you're watching out there on Facebook, if you're watching out there on Twitter and Periscope, if you're watching out there on YouTube, which our YouTube channel is actually WFO Radio TV. If you're looking for it on YouTube, got some good stuff on there. Hello, good day. How are you doing? Hopefully all is great in your world. We got NHRA's Alan Reinhart going to be joining us just minutes from now. We're going to dive into NHRA Drag Racing. And, as the news starts to percolate, I've got some interesting stories that I'm tracking and going to have some cool guests in the coming days. Looking like we're going to have Austin Prock tomorrow, approximately 4 p.m. So Wednesday, approximately 4 p.m. At least that's the plan. Austin is out there going to be running the Chili Bowl, which is cool. Everybody that knows Austin knows that he is a kind of a sprint car guy as well, initially and as well. And so we're going to speak with Austin as he goes out and tries to hold it down for the drag racers at the Chili Bowl. That's going to be kind of cool. And then on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to check back in with Matt Smith, our Camping World Drag Racing Pro Stock Motorcycle World Champion. He has yet to do his champion interview. We're going to get back in with our champions and get everybody knocked out before the Gator Nationals. Tickets have gone on sale for the Amalie Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. All that going on. We're going to get into all of that. And WFO is back, baby. The archives are loaded. The Ignition Show, which is audio only podcast, last night, really cool because a great friend of this show, Elin Werner, who does PR for Coletta Motorsports and has been a fixture in the sport for a long time, working behind the scenes, was down there at the national championship game, which was just about, it's about 15 minutes south of the WFO radio studios. And we made a big deal when the Super Bowl was in town. Hard Rock Stadium, one of the certainly neatest appearing stadiums out there in the world, hosting the Orange Bowl game or the national championship game, excuse me. And Elin was out there on the field. We got him on, did a whole pre-race, pre-game predictions, and he was close. Not quite enough, though. He had Alabama by a lot. Not enough. But you're going to want to check that out on the podcast a little bit later on in the show. And we delve into a bunch of stuff. Our Patreons all jumped in. We had like a live show for the Patreons, which was kind of fun as we expand the benefits of the Patreons and the people, the secret society that is Patreon. All right, we got Reinhart warming up. Let me tell you about the people who make it all possible, like Total Seal Piston Rings. How many of you watched the Engine Performance Expo on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday? I was there. I was in Johnson City, Tennessee. It was great. We had Warren Johnson and John Callies and Ed Pink and Billy Godbold from Comp Camps. Amazing stuff. Learned so much. And Total Seal was one of the big sponsors. Lake Speed Jr. Was my co-host of the deal, and we had a great time. And I learned so much. Like, man, I should have gone and learned to be a machinist. That's kind of what I learned. The podcasting is really good, but being a machinist, you can make anything. Warren Johnson had some great notes, and that is all going to be available for you to watch. But it's an exercise to learn. We learned so much about ring seal, and we learned about low shock cam lobes. Amazing stuff. Comp Cams and their involvement with Clay Milliken's 362.8 record run a few years ago with brand new technology at the time. Really cool stuff. That will all be available, but it's really an exercise to know that if you're building an engine, you should just use Total Seal piston rings and not worry about it. There it is, totalseal.com. But thanks to those guys for inviting me up to do that. And Marvin Rodak, who I wonder if he's all like shoveled out from the snow that went through Texas the other day. Fort Worth and a lot of places got heavily snowed. Watching videos from Circuit of the Americas, they all got snowed on heavily. I don't know how often that happens, but I got to reach out to Marvin. I have started my day, as you could probably tell, with a little Rodax coffee. 817-924-6821. That's RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com. Also want to shout out to the folks at samtech.edu, Brian Massengill, that Factory Stock podcast with Aaron Massengill, where Brian mentions that Samtech's conclusion as title sponsor of Factory Stock Showdown made a lot of news. That is still up, and you can listen to that. Kind of a retrospective on the history of the class, but they were also one of the sponsors of the Engine Performance Expo, and actually got to see machines in work and in process, and think about like all that is possible. And I think about Judson and Linda and Brian and what they have done for the next generation of machinists with their samtech.edu. And if that's you, you definitely want to give them a call. Think about it. And also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure, their big high-profile customer recently, or client or student, Tony Stewart, which was super cool to watch that video. I think about the average NHRA or drag racing fan who is looking for the experience but doesn't want to go out and buy a car or pressure somebody to let them drive their own. That's what the Dragster Adventure is all about, something you should definitely do in 2021, or as I will soon be referring to it as best as I can teach myself, 21. That's it. I'm just dropping the 20 from now on. It's going to be 21. It's going to be 22, etc. Also, thanks to the folks at Nitro Fish Racing. That's where you get our WFO Radio t-shirt, the 10th anniversary. And I know some people have already purchased the face coverings for $10 on our website in the WFO store, where you can also get Snake's book and all kinds of different books and collectibles, etc., and so on. All right. Just like that, we got the business out of the way. The business. Got a whole bunch of comments up there, but let's bring them on from Tucson, Arizona, where it never, ever has snowed ever. Or maybe it has. Alan Reinhart.
It has, not very often. I think the last time was about 20 years ago now. The most famous time would have been 80 something, 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there, when it actually snowed Christmas Eve overnight, and we had a white Christmas for the first time in like the history of history. And of course, I was in San Diego, so I wasn't even here for it. I lived here my whole life.
That's crazy.
One white Christmas, and it's like, yeah, well, I saw it on the news like everybody else.
Right. Who cares? It snowed on me a little bit up there in Johnson City, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay, this is it. This is great. You don't get to play with that kind of snow. It's just more of a nuisance. I was trying to figure out how to get it off the windshield of my rental car. Like, okay, here's a challenge for a Florida person. What does one do when there is ice?
Wipers on.
No, you damage the wipers. You got to take your room key. You scrape it off. But who knows? But anyway, that was the deal. In Florida, it snowed once in my lifetime. I think 1977 or 78. The day it snowed in Florida is kind of a big thing for a lot of Florida people. The one time.
You mentioned 21. You want me to make you feel old?
Yeah, I love that.
Do you realize that 2021 changed the way that you read somebody's ID now when you're selling them beer?
Elaborate. Can
I see your ID, sir? Yeah, here you go. If the first number's a 1, you're 21 years old.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's funny how you say that. And we've been friends for a long time now. And so like when we first met, I hadn't started to feel old yet. And you were telling me about it. And now I get it. Like I get it now. Like, oh man, this guy's right. And so you're like you're the point man in aging. And there's one. Yeah. Anybody that was born with a 1, you're over 21.
You're over 21.
Yeah. Good job, kids. Thank you for that, Alan. Awesome. Yay. We got a bunch of people weighing in out there. Ralph says, what's up? And good to see us. And Jeff, who was checking out the Engine Performance Expo. Thank you, Jeff, for logging on. It was cool that we were able to bring some WFO radio listeners over there. Monica's saying, what's up? And Marcus, good afternoon from South Dakota. What's up, Marcus? How you doing? Hopefully you are well.
He's had snow since 1977.
Yes, he's had snow since yesterday, I'm sure. Ricky, one of our listeners, he bought a cool Thunderbird, like former Pro Stock car from back in the day. He's trying to get that thing going.
He came by my place the other day.
Oh, did he?
Yep.
And?
Yeah, he's a long haul truck driver and was driving through town, and I guess like complete dumb luck. He, just happened to be here. It was a Saturday, and I was coming down for whatever, and I come around the corner. My shop is like one half a block off of a main street on the side street, and I come around the corner, and there's a semi truck that's blocking my gate. And the first thing I'm thinking is,
who is this guy? Yeah.
And I pulled up, and he's like, "Hey, Mr. Reinhart." I'm going, "No, let's get away from that real quick." And introduced himself, and he hung out for, I don't know, 30 minutes or 45 minutes or so, and we kind of chit chatted. And good guy, really really cool guy, and a regular WFO radio listener.
A long time. Yeah. Ricky's been around a long time. Calls in from time to time when we send out the bat signal. Mark wants to know if I sent the WFO radio stickers out. And the answer is no. But I did just get the envelope from the P.O. box this morning. So that's how I know the answer is no, Mark. But they'll be going out right after the show. Randy saying what's up, and Jeff saying what's up. And everybody is very fired up here at the start of the year, Alan. There's a lot of energy But we do usually start like bad news first, take the Band-Aid right off. The Sonny Leonard news was a big bummer. I saw Sonny last time. I took this picture of he and Jerry sitting at the base of the tower at ZMAX Dragway in the spring race 2019. And Sonny came up into the booth. You may recall that. You were there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw these two guys, and Jerry obviously still with us, but very sad. Sonny Leonard and the legends. This is going to be something we endure. We have been and will continue to endure as long as we are able to, blessed enough to keep going. But man, what an innovator. And remember that 632, like, wow, it was huge.
Yeah, it's a toy now.
Yeah.
He was, he was definitely on the cutting edge of that stuff. And for a guy that started out just fixing cars, just working on stuff, and then started building engines, started doing things. And it's funny, I read a story about, when he got started in the early days and built a pro stock motor for a guy. And I mean, we're talking like early 70s. For a mountain motor pro stock guy was 540 cubic inches. And everybody went, 540 cubic inches. And, he's now has been building stuff that's over 1,000. I mean, not a million of them, but there's a couple of them out there. But just a guy that's like, well, you can't do that. Why not? Well, they don't make parts that big. Okay, let's make the parts, or let's get somebody to make the parts, or let's engineer the parts. And, considering where he started, where he was, the reputation he has in the community, just truly a giant, no pun intended, when you look at it and say, what do you got, a Sonny motor? What size? It's 740. And I go, oh, that's a small block Sonny motor, right? And but no, it's a shame. I mean, they, apparently he had at least things in place so that the business and his legacy is going to carry on, and I think that's terrific. He's got customers literally all over the world, and it's just a shame. Everybody's getting older, and sooner or later it's going to be everybody's turn. It's just always a bad day when you hear news about somebody like that you followed and just thought so highly of for so many years.
Absolutely. And it's and then Ron Capps puts out a tweet with a photo of him and John Force that the sentiment was super positive. Like, hey, let's use this moment to acknowledge and think about all the legends that are still with us and appreciate them while we can. But I looked at the comments and Ron gave everybody a heart attack because it's like him and Force. It's like, what, did something happen to Force? But the answer was no, he was just using, and that is so true. The people that are still with us that, we can't maybe go give them a hug right now, hopefully soon, but acknowledge what they've done, appreciate how hard they've worked, what their contribution to the sport is. Jerry Haas is a perfect example. Like, looking at these two men right there, the contribution to pro stock and door slammer racing at all, period, just between those two gentlemen right there, pretty amazing stuff. Oh, I caught you. There he is. Boom. There it is.
I'm trying to sneak over there while you had me off camera. See how you are?
Yeah, sorry. You got to give me
water.
The
water, I promise you.
You just give me the signal, right? It could be vodka. I don't think you'd have taken it down that smoothly, though. That's my opinion. But we just got to honor and pay tribute to the people who got us to where we are.
I agree, and we continue to do that as time goes on. I was got my new national dragster since the last time we spoke. One that's got Matt Smith on the cover and the season ending, and it has a page in memoriam. Just people that we've lost. Some of the people we've lost throughout the course of the year. And reading down the names, and it's like wow. And even a couple of, I didn't realize that he had passed away this year. But, it's inevitable. As I've said before, ain't nobody getting out of here alive. You might as well enjoy while you can. And interesting you should mention John Force. I don't know if you caught the shop talk last week that Loans and I did, but I was actually in John Force's shop. We were talking screw superchargers. So I went to a place where I could go, hey, here's superchargers and parts and stuff and things and how they make them. And, talking to the guys that were there, and they are ready to go. I know you've heard me say before that if you work in a professional race shop, it's kind of a long running joke that if you didn't have a race on the calendar, you'd never be ready to go. Because there's always like, we need to work on this. We need to fix this. We need to, we got to go. We'll get on this when we get back. When we get, when we have this break in whatever the month is, when we got 2 weeks, we'll do. But we got to go. And I spoke to both Jimmy Prock and Chris Cunningham pretty extensively, and I think it's the first time I ever heard him. We are ready to go. We have nothing else to do. There's nothing else. There's not one more project. We've done everything 64 times. We are ready to go. So those guys are definitely looking forward to getting back after it, getting out there.
Oh, you didn't tell them about the new compression rule?
Believe me, they've looked at everything.
That's awesome, though. That is great news. I did not see the shop talk because I was in travel on my way out to Tennessee last week. But the good news is about the internet, just like with this show, way more people watch it after the fact than watch it live. And I will go back and check it out. And I've been working on trying to get John on the show, and he's going to be on the show. We're going to try to have Austin on the show, who is racing at the Chili Bowl, which is cool because that's in his background. And I just love when drag racers go out there and mix it up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Austin does, because if I'm not mistaken, it's been like 3 years since he's actually driven one of those things. But, the opportunity came up, and he, like everybody else, been sitting home for way too long. And it's like, look, I'll race whatever you got. You want to do shopping cart races? Great. What time's the green flag? Let's just get out there and get after it. So, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not going to the Chili Bowl this year. I kind of kicked it around back and forth, but, they've got limited capacity and various things like other sports. And I'm not that hardcore of a fan. So I figure, I can watch it on Mav TV and let somebody else go and enjoy the thing live and in person. But I will certainly be paying attention as we get through the week. It's actually already started, I do believe.
Yes. Yeah. I think they start. I mean, it's like a 6-day event and they'll conclude over the weekend, but they have that many cars. The thing that I like about that is, and I'm not a sprint car guy. Like, we always talk about Formula One, and you're like, I'm not really a Formula One guy. Of course, you appreciate the tech, but being in South Florida, we just don't have that nearby. I got to go far to see. I did go to the Terre Haute action track one time, and it was really awesome to watch them come off turn 4, left wheel in the air. But the thing I like about the Chili Bowl is the rules, which there really are none.
Don't exist.
Yeah. Right. That is rare in motorsport today, to have something where it's like, hey, man, do it, whatever.
Yeah, it's a one-off event. It's not really sanctioned by anybody. And aside from, the safety stuff that they want to have for all the drivers, like, guys, have at it, whatever you want to do. And there are people that have a car built specifically for that one race a year. There are a number of people that just bring whatever they normally run, their USAC cars or whatever they normally run. They'll bring them to the Chili Bowl. If you got weight you can take out, you take it out, because you don't have to worry about that if there's other things. I love, Corey Kruzman, who has won the thing a couple of times, a big-time West Coast sprint car midget guy, showed up out there one time with a car that didn't have a left front wheel on it. It just had a ski. But, the thing never touches the ground anyway, so what the hell do you need a left front wheel for? It weighs 5 pounds. If I can take it off, I take it off.
Right.
That was not the most successful Chili Bowl experiment that anybody had ever seen, but he showed up the next year and had what was basically a bicycle wheel up there, because it was easier to drive around when you're maneuvering through the pits and doing basic stuff. But yeah, there's no rules. You can, build anything you want, try anything you want. It's a small track. It's inside. If you've never been to the Tulsa Expo Center, and again, with this year with the limited fan capacity and the things, this wouldn't be the year to go try to buy tickets now. But it's a really, really impressive show. The racetrack is inside, as are the pits. 300 plus cars and trailers, all pitted inside one building. And when it's your turn to race, you take your car to the racetrack and run. When it's your turn when your race is over, you kind of go over the hump and out of the racetrack and drive back in, but you never leave the building. And it's really impressive. One of the other things I think that they do at the Chili Bowl that has always fascinated me, the racing is in the afternoon, evening, they run later into the night. So if the racing is going to start, and just to pick a number, let's say the racing is going to start at 5:00 p.m. The building actually opens at noon, and it is open to the public. Now, normally, again, this year, because they've got limited capacity, it's not going to be that way. But you don't need a ticket to walk into the building at noon. Just anybody is welcome. And they have what we would call the manufacturer's midway at the NHRA race. They call the trade show. and they have a number of vendors that are in there selling safety products, selling performance products, selling T-shirts, selling whatever, kind of like our manufacturers Midway, just things that are in some way, shape, or form related to the sport. Again, and they call that the trade show, and the trade show is open. And then what they'll do at 4 o'clock, basically sound a horn or sound a siren. Everybody has to leave the building, and when I say everybody, I mean everybody. Every competitor, every crewman, everybody has to leave the building. And then you've got to have your ticket or your wristband or your pass to get back in if you're there for the race that night. But it's a really interesting idea that gives the fans, somebody that's just a casual fan or doesn't know, and I'm not, it's just, you can go out, you can get into the pit area, you can get into the trade show, you can go get an autograph from your favorite driver. You can get, because much like NHRA with the Chili Bowl, the pits are open. And, the guys will be there. The cars are out. You can go ask questions. You can go, so you don't get to see them race, but you can go kind of get a feel of what the experience is like without having to buy a ticket. And at that point, you can decide, okay, do I want to make the investment? Do I want to? So, on a standard year, they've got it's just a really interesting business model. And when they started doing it, what's it been now? 20 years, 18 years? I mean, it's been around a while. Everybody told me, you guys are nuts. You're going to have an indoor midget race in the dead of winter in Oklahoma.
Right.
Come on. Who's going to care about that? And, it took a couple of years to find its legs, but it's gotten to a point now. And if I'm not mistaken, Tony Stewart owns the whole thing now. It was not Tony Stewart's thing in the beginning, but I believe Tony Stewart actually bought it from the group that owned it and ran it for a number of years. But they keep the dirt literally in storage in one of the buildings on site. And when it's time to race, they bring the dirt in, they build the track, they get the thing all set. When the race is over, they load up all the dirt, go put it back in a building in storage. But it's a really, really cool thing to go do, to go see, and to experience. It's just a shame that this year they're going to have, limited spectators, but you will be able to watch it various places online. I saw something the other day. I don't know if you saw. Amanda Busick is going to be there.
Oh, I
Ralph
didn't know.
Shaheen. Yeah, Ralph Shaheen is doing some kind of a broadcast, not necessarily race coverage, but just, hey, this is the event kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Amanda Busick is going to be one of his pit reporters that's going to be down there. I think she'll love it because, as we've seen, she's had opportunities to do a lot of different stuff since she started doing her stuff with NHRA. And with the curiosity and the ability that she has, everything I've seen her do, it seems like it takes her about 5 minutes to get acclimated.
Right.
She doesn't go in and go, okay, now how come that tire's so big? That's just not her. She'll get her homework done. She'll get, by the time she hits the Tulsa Convention Center floor, she'll be ready to go. But I'm looking forward to seeing some of that as well.
I'm looking forward to see any kind of racing at all, and excited about it. It's a bucket list item for me. I will go, as you said, like, this is definitely not the year. Like, I can wait another year or two, get out there, vaccinated, non-pandemic year, where I can get the true and genuine experience. But it's definitely something that I would like to see. And, it gives us something here at the start of the year. To me, it's the official start of racing, right? It's like the start of the year happens with the Chili Bowl. It's not drag racing, but there are drag racers there, and we all appreciate it.
I got to tell you just one more real quick story, because the Chili Bowl has become such a, you got to see it. Whether you're going to see it, time after time after time, or whether you're just going to go by and see it once. Remember 2 years ago, 3 years ago, at one point during a lull in the action, and, it's dirt track racing. So you get out there and you run, 4 heat races, or you run a B main, or you run whatever. And then it's like, okay, guys, we're going to take a 20-minute timeout. They're going to re-prep the track, because it's a dirt track. It goes through the changes through the course of the night, and they have to get out there and do it. And of course, that's the time when everybody runs down to the restroom, and everybody runs and gets another beer, and everybody goes and does whatever they do, and then they go back to their seat. So I'm taking a break, and I'm down, and I'm in the restroom line, which can be fairly long at times. It's again, a lot of people there when they're allowed. And I spent 20 minutes just chit-chatting with the guy who happened to be standing in the men's room line next to me, a guy named Roger Penske.
Huh?
It's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, just needed to come check it out. I've heard so much about it. I wanted to come down and take a look. And, told him who I was and what I did. And we sit there, and, like I said, like 20 minutes in line, just to chit-chat. But you just never know who you're going to bump into at the Chili Bowl.
That's awesome. And I like it. I like the idea.
One thing, Chili Bowl, we should give Forrest and Morgan and Charlotte.
Exactly. Lucas Oil Chili Bowl. And one thing I wanted to mention is I got kind of like Tanner Gray, right? Tanner Gray has got some background in things similar to that. They can do it. I would have loved to have seen him out there, and I've been kind of searching to see if they are involved. I know that Johnny has kind of purchased half or a portion of that team, the David Gilliland Racing, and so maybe that is kind of taking their attention. But I like to follow the drag racers just to see how they do.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about the Chili Bowl is that there are people there from so many different. I don't know if Chase Elliott's going to be there competing.
Yeah, I know. Cup champ.
He's never driven on dirt. And this is something that actually came about before he won the championship over on the Cup side of things. Just kind of chit chatting with some of his friends, and hey, would you like to do it, man? I'd love to have it. But the guy asked the guy, and he said, "Do you want this guy?" And obviously, even without the championship, he's got enough name recognition. He's obviously got skills and abilities. So it's just a matter of, okay, now you're going to have to learn how to drive dirt cars, and he's been diving into doing that. But just the fact that people come from so many different backgrounds. There'll be IndyCar guys there. There'll certainly be, NASCAR guys there. And as you mentioned, there'll be drag racers there. I think the first time I ever really paid attention to the Chili Bowl was when Gary Scelzi went. And, they invited Ron Capps, Cruz Pedregon has competed in the Chili Bowl. I'm not sure if Cruz is going this year or not, but I'm almost positive he still has a car in his shop that's ready to go whenever he wants to go out and do it. So it should be, it's just always fun. It's good racing. It's great competition. It's indoors, so it's never going to get rained out. And it's just a great event. When nobody's doing anything in the dead of winter, it's a tremendous event.
And for Chase, getting a little dirt experience before this year where they're actually going to run on dirt, that might be worthwhile. I'm sure you saw the photographs of Bristol with the sawdust down, and they're going to put dirt down, and it's kind of interesting. All right, we got some questions. People feel free. They're not like Derek wants to know new compression rule. Please elaborate. I will. Allow me to elaborate. It was just a joke meant to make.
Making stuff up. That's elaborated.
I learned from this guy to make stuff up to make people's heads explode. What? The Force guys are totally prepared. You guys didn't hear about the new rule? That's all that it was. All right, Jerron.
It was actually kind of funny because the Force thing came down when I knew I was going to be in Indy anyway. I had to go back there to be doing some voice work and some other stuff. And I called Robert and I said, "Hey, we're doing superchargers. I'd love to." And he went, "Yeah, no problem. Call Chris Cunningham. Just tell him what time you want to be there." But it was cool. It was nice of those guys to do that for me. And it's kind of interesting to be in that shop when there was only like a handful of people working there. The way that they've got things happening now. There are still things going on. They do still have people in there doing work from time to time. But man, it's a strange deal to be in a place that big when there's only like a half a dozen people in the whole building. Anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
They've had a year break is really what just about a year off. So they've got to be going crazy. Everybody's going crazy. Tickets for the Gator Nationals are on sale. Go to NHRA.com, the leadoff of the season. All right. So Jerron, speaking of Gainesville, he says, "What's up, guys? We're all waiting to enter Pomona, Phoenix, and Vegas Nats. What does Alan think our chances are? We have to enter because of how fast Gainesville filled up." And that's something I wanted to bring up last week, and it slipped. There's always something. That's why you got to watch every week, everybody, because Joe will inevitably slip on something, but it'll make it back. Thank you, Jerron. The Gator Nationals filled up rapidly. I was hoping you could give our casual listeners a little bit of a understanding of how sportsman cars enter and how the grading points are important, and you've got to get in at the right time, and sometimes you can't get in.
Yeah, and that's exactly, there is a quota on classes at every national event. And depending on the event, the quota, there's a lot of things that come into this. It's not just a random number, but one is how much area do we have to park race cars? As you know, some racetracks have got acres of parking.
Sure.
Some racetracks have got this much parking. And so that's something that you got to take into consideration. You got to take into consideration things like how many hours there are in a day. I get it. There's 24, but almost all of the tracks now have lighting that is certainly sufficient enough that you could run late into the evening. But depending on the track location, depending on the time of the year, if you know that at 7 o'clock it's dark and at 7:30 there's going to be a bunch of dew on the racetrack, you've got to take that into consideration. There are racetracks where you can run until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, no problem. There are racetracks when you simply can't. And you've got to take that into consideration. How much time do we have? How many cars can we put down the track? So all of these things come in there and they decide, okay, you're going to have X number of super gas, X number of super comp, X number of stock or super stock. Do we have top dragster? Do we have top sportsman? Do we have comp? Do we have alcohol? Do we have pro mod? All of those things that go into the equation for how many cars. So, okay, you've got your standard now, okay? And let's say, just pick a number out of the sky. Let's say we've decided we can take 50 super street cars. That's it, 50. Make it super gas. Super street is just because they only run such a limited number of events. We can take 50 super gas cars. So entries will open up, whatever the date is, again, depending on the race, okay? Entries open up on the first of the month if you have 8 grade points or better. And this is where you are rewarded for following the tour on the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series. If you go to the divisional events and if you go to the regional events, every time you go to one of those, some of the places, the national opens, you get a grade point. You are supporting the Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series in your geographic area. So if you've got 8 grade points, come the first, have at it. Entries are open, go for it. Now, everybody doesn't have 8 grade points. And everybody that does isn't going to the Gator Nationals. Okay, if you've got a guy that lives in Montana, probably not going to the Gator Nationals unless it's a bucket list idea. So you got 8 grade points, you can enter. Now, as of the 5th of the month, if you have 7 grade points, you can enter. And you've got a time that's basically designated. And again, you're rewarded because you have been supporting the Lucas Oil Series on the regional and on the divisional trail. And then on the 10th of the month, they say, okay, if you have 6 grade points, and then it goes on down the list until it's full. And once you get to the 50 car capacity, that's it. At which point, no more entries will be taken. There are a couple exceptions to the rule. If you're a former champion in the category, something you can get in, and that's why oftentimes you'll have 50 cars is the rule, but you're going to have 53 or 54 that are actually there racing. Fine, but at that point now, let's say you're a grade 4 guy, or let's say you're a grade 3 guy, and you didn't get in. Okay, the race just filled up, but you really want to go, right? This is my home race. So what you've got to do now is pay attention, because there will be times, entries open up. Geez, I think we're going to go. I'm pretty sure we're going to go. The car should be ready by then. You got to enter because you can't wait until the last minute. So you enter. Now, 2 weeks before the race, oh, geez, my car's still in the paint shop, or I didn't get the engine back from my guy, or whatever. We're not going to be able to make it. So you're going to go in and you're going to cancel your entry. And the way that it works with NHRA is you would just take that entry and transfer it to another event that you're going to. And that's why you'll go in and cancel it. Because if you wait until the Gator Nationals comes and don't show up, then you messed up.
Right.
That's like paying for the night at the hotel and not showing up. They're going to charge you anyway. So you've got to make your withdrawal. And now me, as a grade 3 guy, is going to go, but I just noticed there's only 48 entries. Bang. I need to get in there when I can get in there. And it turns into a little gamesmanship sometimes,
Yes.
you'll see, especially on, some of the sportsman chat rooms and some of the stuff where guys will be going, hey guys, if anybody's withdrawing, let me know. And it'll be a deal where, like you just said, Joe and I are on the phone and he's like, okay, 3, 2, 1, withdraw, enter. And we try to jump on the spot. But basically, if you get out and you support the Lucas Oil Series, you run the regional events when they're in your neighborhood, then you stand a much, much better chance of getting into the national event when it comes to your backyard. So that's just one of the incentives that NHRA has to support the tracks, especially the tracks that don't have the national events. There are a lot of racetracks where the Lucas Oil race, one that I go to every year in Woodburn, Oregon, they don't have a national event. Their Lucas Oil race is a big deal. I mean, they have major sponsorship. They have good crowds. It's one of the biggest events they have. And that event needs to be supported for that track. Now, if you are a Division 6 racer and you really want to run the Seattle race or you really want to run the Sonoma race, you're going to need the division points. Why not go to Woodburn? It's going to be a good time. You're going to have fun. It's a great racetrack. It's a great facility. But that's one of the ways that NHRA helps support some of the other venues by telling the racers, look, if you want to run the big races, you've got to support some of the little ones as well.
Exactly. And gain experience and be a proven racer and all of that. But at the other side of it, we've seen these quotas. I know there are certain racers that are very against the quotas and they long for the days where you would have hundreds and hundreds of cars. The pit, like you mentioned, the space available, like Gainesville's pretty huge, but the space available in certain places, like Jerron says, he's sitting with 10 grading points. It's just, it's a tough situation. But it is.
He's got 10 grading points. How did he not get in? When they opened it for 8, he should have been click, bang, go.
Yeah. What's up, Jerron? Answer that question. Answer the question, Jerron.
One of the things you talk about pit space and you talk about, well, back in the day, everybody had a pickup and a 15-foot trailer.
Yep. Open trailer and a pickup. And that's it. And they stayed in a
Now,
hotel.
Never mind the pros, which is a whole serpent thing, and we can talk about that. But now, how many guys have a 65-foot long rig? And, you've got your toter homes, you've got your slide outs, you've got your awning that sticks out 18 feet on this side. And now you've got a pit area where we used to put 3 or 4 cars, and it's just you. Now, the other side of that coin is that a number of these rigs now haul 2 cars, and that certainly helps, but you still end up with a situation where you just are running out of real estate. And then when you get into the pro pits, it used to be, again, everybody had a chaparral trailer and a dually. Okay, then everybody had a semi. Okay, but now everybody has 2 semis, and they have hospitality, and they have a machine trailer, and it just takes up more and more real estate. So that's one of the things that has kind of shrunk the whole thing. One of the other things, and I really believe this is good, but one of the other things is, remember, we're done Sunday afternoon, 4:30 or so. Whereas when I started doing this, it used to be really normal for the last couple of cars to go down the track at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then winter circle to go on until 11 on just a regular basis. And that's another thing that, you have to take into consideration. We've only got this much time. We need to be done by then. We need to be on TV by now. And this is what has to happen. So it's, I know that there's a lot more sportsman racers at a number of events that would love to get in, would love to come and compete. And you simply need to go spend some more time on the regional trail so that you can get that entry sooner. I just don't see us ever going back to a time when we've got, 150 super gas cars at every event. It's just not going to happen. There are some where we have the room, where we have the time, where we have, and that's one of the reasons that Indy has such big, Indy, when it was 6 days long, and we would run from 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. and then you've got room for these big fields and these big, but you simply can't do that at every event.
Yeah, exactly. And Duran has clarified he's a West Coast guy now, so he's just waiting for Pomona. With 10 points, Duran, I think you're gonna get in.
Yeah, with 10 points, he's going to be golden. It's just going to be a matter of when the whole go ahead comes up, and I don't know as of now when it is.
Isn't there a special U.S. Nationals runner-up exemption?
A U.S. Nationals runner-up exemption?
Yeah.
I'll have to check on that, but I don't believe so.
Sorry, that's just the first shot I took in 21. And someone mentions back in the day, you used to have to take your cars and trailers out of the track, and that would have been a big bummer.
That's going way back in the day. And that's the day when everybody used to leave. The top fuel guys would leave. But, you had a top fuel car on a ramp truck or on an open trailer, and the guys took it back to the hotel with them because they felt like at least then they could kind of keep an eye on them, right? It's right outside the door. You didn't want to just leave everything there and drive away. But yeah, that's going way back.
Exactly. And he says his question was it going to happen? And I refer you to all of our answers between April and September, as in, the local authorities are going to make those decisions. And I certainly hope, and let's get that vaccine out as quick and as fast as is possible. And that will make it much more likely for us to be racing with larger crowds. And that's what some people are asking about, like Gainesville capacity and all of that. And I would say just sit on those questions and wait.
Yeah, and I think I might be able to shed a little bit of light on this, and this is based on no inside information, just the fact that, I've been around a long time and I've been watching, but we're in a situation now, and, Pomona, I think, is a great example, where I don't know. I mean, if I had to say right now, are we going to run Pomona? I don't know. But it's kind of like when you get up in the morning and it's raining. If you decide at 8 o'clock, okay, that's it, call it, right? Call it off, not going to happen, send everybody home. And then the sun comes out at noon, you can't uncall it. You can't, once you pull the plug, you can't plug it back in. Now, as far as Pomona, if Pomona was next weekend, I don't believe we'd be allowed to race. Just the way California is right now and everything I've seen and everything I've read, I don't believe that they would allow us to come in, bring the crowd, I just don't see it. But we're not going to be racing until April. Now, what's going to be happening in April? I don't know. And if you look at it right now and go, okay, well, that's it, just forget it. And then the vaccine takes, and things happen, and, and they go, okay, now it's okay, then you try to go forward. So as of right now, there's a lot that's still really not known, but everything is on the schedule until it's not, for exactly that reason. If you said right now, okay, pull the plug on Pomona, and then in the next 6 weeks, you know, because there's a lot changing, right? I mean, with administrations in Washington, and there's a lot going on. So if the next 6 weeks they go, okay, everybody in California just line up, get your vaccines, bing, bang, boom, and then you know the cases are down and the things, and they might decide in mid-March that okay, things are good. Well, let's start getting back to business. Let's start. In which case, if we've already canceled the race, we can't uncancel it. So right now, it's kind of in wait and see mode. And I think that goes for a lot of places around the country that you just don't know because you're dealing with federal government, you're dealing with state government, you're dealing with local government in some cases, and you just don't know. So as of right now, it's just a matter of, keep your eye on the internet. And when and if something changes, word's going to get out pretty quick. But as of right now, everything is still on the schedule.
Yes.
And man, I'm pulling for it.
Well, exactly. And, that's why when you've said this 1,000 times on the show and I've adopted it, like, what's the weather going to be like, Alan? What's the weather going to be like? Well, it doesn't matter. We're going to the racetrack. We're planning on getting a race in. We're prepared for anything. That's the answer. Don't speculate on things that you can't change. Just go with it and be ready to have a good time and participate. And that's what we'll do. We're talking about April. It's January. There's a lot that can happen. And as you mentioned, like I'm under the understanding that they're going to really try to ramp up the vaccine situation. They're already changing like who can get it, etc. Gainesville, who knows? It's Florida. The rules here in Florida have been very different than everywhere else because in North Florida, especially, like if it was South Florida versus North Florida, it would be different. North Florida, especially. So just keep your eye on the news, keep listening and watching WFO radio, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and write us a fantastic review. And we'll keep you up to date as best as we know, up to the minute. Simple as that. All right. Warren wants to know, hey guys, are there any silly season stories you can share? We know about the Nitro crew chief swaps. Have you heard anything else happening prior to the Gator Nationals? And I feel like we're about to get into that. The Justin Ashley, Mike Green story was kind of a big shocker. But other than that, the John Collins going to Cruz Pedregon, that was a big news story. If there's another one out there, it's going to start happening soon.
Yeah, I haven't. Let's just put it this way. I don't have anything that I can share. There's a couple of things that, you kind of hear here and there and some of the stuff through the grapevine, but I am very proud of the fact that pretty much everybody in the pits will talk to me. And a big reason for that is because if they say, hey, look, nothing's certain yet, nothing to, you can't mention this, but then I've got to keep that secret because as soon as you don't one time, it's not like just that one guy won't talk to you. Everybody in the pits then knows, this guy won't keep a secret, can't be trusted. And I really, I'm very proud of the fact that a lot of people will talk to me and sometimes people will call me and ask, my opinion or my input on some of the stuff if I keep it under my hat. So, are there some things coming? I believe there are. Is there anything particular that I can talk about right now? No, there isn't. And I'm sorry for that.
That's intrigue, man. That's why we can't just give it all away immediately. Let's see. Tim got his Gator Nationals tickets, as Alan says. Come on, Gainesville. Yes, exactly. Come on, Gainesville. No, I know. We're all feeling it. And we've got divisional racing in Division 2, not far off, like February 5th or so, coming up in Orlando at Orlando Speed World Dragway, Ozzy's track out there. And that's exciting. And I got a lot of people. I may end up being there. I got a lot of people talking about just kind of getting fired up to go race at all. And there will be Florida going to be the center of the racing universe for a while at the start of this year. When you think about the Rolex, when you think about the Daytona 500, when you think about Homestead, now the second race of the year, when you think about our NHRA divisional racing, the Baby Gators, we're not doing hatchlings anymore, Alan, and the Gator.
I'm not sure about that. That was a deal that I made with Rich. And now that there's a new director in Division 2, right, we might have to renegotiate that a little bit. I kind of like the hatchlings.
I'm scheduled to speak with Cody later today, but I'm going to stay out of it. But I'm going to stay out of it. The World Door Slammer Nationals at Orlando Speed World as well, which is back the week before the Gator National. There's a lot of racing going to happen in Florida. And that's why, if you listen to my Ignition show, like I keep talking about this vaccine because I know it's a race against time. The more we can get, the better off we'll be. It's as simple as that. And when, my turn comes, I'm going to be there at like whatever time they say to be there. And I'm going to be very excited to get it so I can go out there and be racing. Very interesting. Any other questions you guys got? Put them up there. We're almost done with Alan Reinhart. It has been a whole lot of fun as we kind of delve into it all going. Did you watch any of the national championship game, Alan? I don't imagine you've got a tie to Alabama or Ohio State, but maybe you do.
No, I didn't. And I was, in my shop yesterday and then was home and taking care of some stuff there. And no, I never even turned it on. And like you say, don't have a dog in the fight. But I'm also in a situation where I might be the only guy on the planet, but I don't have cable TV. And I gave up, the cable and satellite a bunch of years ago because I'm never at home. And it just, I can't be spending $150 a month for all this stuff. I'm only going to be home 4 days a month. And, now I guess, but anyway, so I wasn't going to go out. I've been keeping this kind of a low profile. I'm single and live alone. When I'm at my shop where I am now, I'm the only one that works here. And I'm not necessarily, hiding under the carpet, but I'm also not going out, unnecessarily to be a part of a big crowd, and especially where a bunch of guys are going to be yelling and screaming and spitting all over the bar. So, and to tell you the truth, I really didn't think it was going to be much of a game, and it looks like it turned out to be not much of a game. I was stunned by Pittsburgh and Cleveland.
Yes,
but, and I didn't really expect that to be much of a game either. But no, I did. Congratulations to the champs. But I just, it looked like a game that probably at halftime I would have been going, yeah, okay, probably about time to head out anyway.
But to the Browns fans out there in the world, like, hey, wow, good job, guys. Congratulations. Very interesting.
Oh, that was awesome.
A huge rivalry there. Elon was on last night, and he's a big Steelers fan, and Gio in Miami is a Steelers fan, and those guys are shell-shocked right now. They don't know what to think.
It was 28-0. It's like, okay, wait a minute. They got the score back. I mean, something must be wrong, right? Because I really wasn't watching it either. I had it on at the house, but I'm doing things and I'm, doing other things. I'm looking at the computer and I glance up and it's like 7-0. Wow, really?
What'd I miss?
I go, okay, okay, first play. All right. Yeah. And I'm going back to what I'm doing. And a couple minutes later, I walk around, glance at the TV. It's like 14-0. I'm doing. Okay, wait a minute. And again, got to punch up on the computer. Go, okay, well, the snap went over. Okay, 14 point. And then I just kept expecting, okay, here comes Pittsburgh. And by the time Pittsburgh started coming, it was just too late. And, good for the Browns. Their fans for so long have been, kicked around and disappointed. And God bless them. And, we'll see what happens. One thing that I'm almost positive that came out of this is that Kansas City went, what?
Yeah.
It's like, who are those guys? Because I don't believe there were a whole lot of guys, even though the Browns had won, what were they, 10-6 this year, 11-5, 10-6, I think. They certainly they earned their way into the playoffs, okay? They didn't get there with a losing record and just like, well, nobody else wanted to go, so they picked us. But I honestly believe that, certainly now that they've got to play Kansas City next, Kansas City's going, okay, this is the same Cleveland team that, for the last. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there.
Quarterbacks matter. You got to have a quarterback if you're going to be successful. All right, before we let you go, Jerron just emailed me a sneak peek, and we're on the air. Yeah, you've got your. I can only see a little. Selzy. Wow.
Darian Meadows and Selzy.
Wow. And you know what? Someone had mentioned that earlier, that you had the throwback sweatshirt on early in the day. And there it is.
It's chilly enough here now that, I wear a sweatshirt usually in the morning, and then in the afternoon it's warm enough that I don't. But I literally just went into, I've got a shelf where I keep stuff, and I went in and just kind of grabbed one off the shelf. Whoa. Been a while since I had that one out, so I decided to wear it.
That's awesome.
If I'm not mistaken, Gary won the last race that he ever drove for this team, which would have been the Phoenix Regional at the time when it was the fall race, and that would have been 1996 before he got into the Winston Top Fuel Car in 1997.
How about that? You're up on the star. All right, Jerron sent us some sneak peeks of his most recent work. This is like breaking news. He does a lot of helmets for a lot of the top tier guys. Okay, so you ready for a sneak peek?
Sure.
The latest DHL helmet for a Mr. Sean Langdon. That's pretty nice.
That's cool.
Pretty nice. I'm liking it. I like the layers, man. A lot of layers. Looks fast sitting still. That's really the goal, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, it's good that he's keeping busy during the off season.
Oh my God, these painter guys, come on. Hey, Jerron, can I get 100? Seriously, this guy is doing a lot of work. All right, Alan, great job. Countless questions, obviously, about rumors and news, and we're just going to continue to let it all unfold, and it will. And just super excited. Got Austin in the Chili Bowl going to be on tomorrow. Got Matt Smith going to be on Wednesday, and just keep on clicking off those champions and see it all play out. Do you have a shop talk this week, or should we just go back and watch the Supercharger one?
Actually, we do. We're going to. I believe it'll be Thursday because Loans had a other engagement on Wednesday. But we're going to finish up Power Adders. We're going to talk screw superchargers this week. We've spoken. If you've been following the last few weeks, we did one where we spoke nitrous and its applications in drag racing. We did one on turbochargers. Last week we did root superchargers. This week we're going to do screw superchargers, and that'll wrap up our Power Adder series. And then we'll figure out with where we're going to go after that. And if anybody has any more questions, anything you want to shoot them to me, just have announcer at NHRA.com as usual. And if I've got an answer I can share, then I'll share it with you. If I don't have an answer, I'll tell you I don't have an answer.
Excellent. And you'll find the answer one way or the other. Alan, great job. Really appreciate it. We're off to a marvelous start here in 21. Let's just keep on keeping on, and we'll get it done. Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you next week.
There he goes. NHRA's Alan Reinhart with us here on WFO Radio, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I know you're seeing the show if you're watching on Facebook, but the majority of our listeners listen audio only because it is, we love audio only. Simple as that. Anything, look at this. Anything you need, Joe, is what he says about the $100. That's not what he needs. No, actually, I have an idea of a potential project for you, Jerron. But it's definitely outside of this automotive racing helmet field. But I do have, I'll get something I'll run by you at another time in the future. Home decor. Does this guy do anything around the house? Right? One of my Kifa projects might look really cool with some, flying airbrush artwork on it. Just saying. All right. So get your comments in the comment section. Final comments. I see Dugenet is out there. What's up, Dugenet? How you doing? Hopefully you are all well. Steelers weren't very good. Yeah, no, down 28-0 immediately. Like I flipped on the game 5 minutes in and they're already losing by a lot. That's that. It is what it is. They got beat by a team with no name or no logo. True. Then again, I'm a Miami Dolphin fan. And the big question is, what do we do with Tua? And what are we going to do? And do we trade? Do we try to get Deshaun Watson? What do we do? What do we do? Is the question. The Miami Dolphin fans. But I'm happy to be in a position where we actually can think about making a move that might make a difference. Get your comments in the comment section while I tell you a couple of things, and then we'll finish up the show. But this has been a great start. And if you're new to the show, like I know there's always new people. We do this every week. Alan and I, approximately 1 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays for a long, long time. WFO Radio Podcast is over 10 years old. I think we're in our 12th year as a podcast. And it's been pretty amazing to see the way the show has grown, and we've got weekly listenership, and it's just, it's awesome. And I know there's a lot of new podcasts out there, and I support all of them. I really do, because podcast listening is something that, you get in on one and then you get in on another and then you bounce back and forth, and it's fantastic. You can take it anywhere. So go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Who knows what just popped up on my phone? Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. A great way is to go to the WFOradio.com website, and you'll see all the different places that you can subscribe to the podcast. The website, we've got our WFO store, Snake's book. It's in the WFO store. A lot of you guys it's an Amazon store. You just click on it and it'll go into your Amazon cart. And I'm posting more and more stuff up there, like even daily household stuff that you can get through the WFO site. It helps out the show, number one. And I've seen a lot of you have purchased your Don the Snake, My Life Beyond 1320 from the WFO Radio Amazon store, which is pretty cool. I am 7/8 through the book, and then I will put up my review. Great stuff. A lot of good stories. Already have spoken with Kelly Wade and Warren Johnson about the WJ book coming out in April. and really interesting, some of the stuff that is going to be in the book. Now, we don't want to do any spoilers, but that's up there as well. If you want to pre-order it and be ready to read it with me, right along with me as soon as we get it. I know, like Monica says she finally got her snake book. It was in transit for like a month, but she finally got it. And, Amazon fulfillment. I hear it's going really well, but you're going to learn a lot. And I've been really enjoying. I don't read drag racing history books. I don't. This one I've really loved, and maybe I need to delve into more of them because it just connected a lot of the dots with a lot of the interesting stories. And this past week, speaking with Ed Pink, talking a little bit about it. Also, speaking with Warren, like, what is the thing? Let's do a quick question. Put it in the comments section, and then I'll tell you about the sponsors, and then we'll read the comments. What is the one subject that you would most like to know what Warren Johnson's true opinion is? Okay, you get it? Like, of all the years that you know and remember Warren Johnson and Kurt, what is the one subject that you would like to hear him expound upon and give the behind-the-scenes details of? I'd like to know what your opinion is. Did you know you could get a WFO radio face covering for just $10? I'll throw some stickers in at the WFO radio store. Do it now. I'm going to send out some right after the show. Marvin Rodak, he's shoveling snow and he's roasting coffee. 817-924-6821. He's also a big sponsor of Funny Car Chaos. He's putting his money where his mouth is. Loves drag racing. Big supporter of WFO. Get some coffee. Get some hot sauce. Get some spice rub. I love the habanero endorphin booster. It is my favorite. You should put a label on there that says Joe's favorite. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Brian Massengill, Linda Judson, the team out there. For young people, I know it's a big deal. You don't just, everybody doesn't just go to machinist school. But if we can motivate one young person to get into this world and follow their dreams and end up as the next, you could be the next Sonny Leonard, you could be the next, who knows, then it will be worth it. Samtech.edu. And Total Seal Piston Rings got a brand new hidden horsepower coming out tomorrow morning that you're going to love. Lynn Haddock. This is, Lake's dad. He's Lake Speed Jr. Total Seal Piston Rings. Lake Speed Senior, Lake Speed. You guys know him from his NASCAR days, but did you also know that Lake Speed was the 1978 World Karting Champion? And the story of how Lake went to Europe and raced against the best in the world and ultimately beat Ayrton Senna on the track for the 1978 championship is told through the eyes of Lynn Haddock, who was with him and his partner in the deal, and in many ways, crew chief in the deal. Two Southern gentlemen who were racing karts in the 1960s and 70s, always focused on the engines, typical Americans, right? Decide on a whim to go to Belgium and take it to the Euros. And they got there and they learned some lessons and they made some friends and they kept going back and they ultimately conquered. It's really the plot of a movie. It's Ford versus Ferrari, but without the contention. And it's a really interesting story. It's the plot of a movie with Lake Speed beating Ayrton Senna with I don't want to spoil any more of it. That's going to be on Hidden Horsepower. It's coming out tomorrow morning. But it's all an exercise. You can pick it up at Total Seal's website, totalseal.com. Really appreciate those guys. Plus Nitro Fish, where you can get all kinds of great gear. Use our promo code WFO20 and our WFO stuff, obviously, on the store, WFOradio.com. All right, let's see if we have any thing. Cheating in Pro Stock. Yeah, exactly. Cheating in Pro Stock. Let's see. Not sure if this counts, but the time he hooked Steve Evans sitting on the golf cart with his parachute. Oh, man, I don't know if that's going to be in there. I don't know. That's interesting. I would want to know about the Dodge Boys, like Warren's perspective on that era. I've heard him say that they weren't cheating. They were just in the wrong class. That's a joke, obviously, as a big fan of the professor, and always get a little starstruck to this day whenever, Warren walks in. The other day when Warren walked in, it was great. And he had super nice things to say. He goes, "Oh, this must be a big deal," which is a joke, but I appreciate it. But to hear him talk about things, in fact, we started talking about one little note from the Engine Performance Expo about Warren Johnson, something he said, and you'll be able to go back and see his interview, talking about machining and how much time he saved starting to use CNC machines and the folks at Rottler, etc. I said, Warren, if there's an area of the engine that is still unconquered by you, what would it be? Like an area that is something that you keep going back to? And he thought about it for a second and he said, well, valve train stability is the area. But then again, I had it solved in 1992 and NHRA banned me. And I was like, oh, do tell. I go, is it in the book? And he said, no, it's not in the book. And so I felt empowered, because I don't want to spoil the book in any way. I felt empowered to ask him more. And he talked about how he invented or innovated a pneumatic valve train, and that they would spin a steel valve and it lasted like valve spring, and it lasted 8 seconds. And then they did a titanium valve spring and it lasted like 50 seconds at something like 13,000, the equivalent of 13,000 RPM, something like that. And they used his deal and it went for like 4 hours at 13,000 and it was no problem. His pneumatic valve train that he invented in 1992. Look, I want to know about that stuff, man. I want to know about that stuff. It's cool. But really, the Dodge Boys, like what was going on during that era, because it had to be really aggravating to get beat when you had suspicion. You had sus. I'll use my nephew's term. He had sus on some of the other racers. And of course, those allegations have never been proven. And I just want to know what he thinks. All right, final comments. Let's get into them right now. Mark Watkins says, go Browns. If you guys could go to Kansas City and beat the Chefs, that would be a major accomplishment. You would definitely deserve me to root for you guys for the remainder of the deal. Jeff says, happy new race year. And Austin, I haven't seen Austin comment ever before. Thank you, Austin. I can't wait for Beer with Selzy and Beer with Selzy with John Force. Wow. So I did reach out. The John Force happy hour is still on the radar. It is not off the radar just yet. We are going to wait until John has released all his news. As you can imagine, John trying to hold on to secrets in front of me would not work well. So they're going to wait till all the news is out. Sam, what's up, Sam? In the Groove Podcast appreciates you. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate you guys, and hope to see you up there in Jam Lando at the World Door Slammer Nationals here in a few weeks. Great start to 21. I'm not going to say the 20 anymore because we're going to be doing that for the next 100 years. 21. And Monica says, thanks for a great show today. Always love to take the Tuesday afternoon break with you and Alan. Yeah, exactly. Something different. I like it. Yes, exactly. Now, a guy like me, small time can kicker, I don't know if I can afford the flying airbrush, so to speak, but it would be nice to know, for some home decor. Mike says, Bills Mafia, you guys stunk out the joint, but barely won, and now you got to shake that off. I think the Bills, based on what you guys did to the Dolphins the other day, like quick strikes, fast team. I still have nightmares about Thurman Thomas every now and again, but time to step up, Bills fans, and show what you got. Show me what you got. Let's do it. Dugenet, I'm loving the Dolphins, bro. I'm excited. Yes, me too. And also, I hope we can do something positive. We got the number 3 pick overall, and the big debate in Dolphin land is Tua the real deal, or do we need to go back to the quarterback well and pick again? Can we send him back on Amazon and or trade him or get something else? Maybe take the pick and trade up, make a move. Draft talk in full effect here on Sports Collision on WFO Ignition. And for those that like regular stick and ball sports, we do a whole segment on it on the Ignition show. And it's kind of cool. What's up, Dugenet? Let's see. Scott says, great show, Joe. Thank you very much. And there it is. Just like that. We got to everybody. Am I going to the World Door Slammer Nationals? Right. As of this moment, it's looking like I am. It is looking like I am. And that will make 2 in a row. And we'll start building something. Let's see. Marcus, great show, Joe. Hope to see you in Brainerd. Yes, I hope to see you in Brainerd. I hope to see everybody everywhere, honestly. And I've been a little preachy lately here at the very end of the show. Do I have anything that I really need to dial in? Yeah, I got one thing I'll tell you a little bit about. Because once Alan goes, I just try to keep as much of the audience on as possible. But I've been a little preachy just because I feel that maybe the world needs a little preachiness right now about let's motivate and get these vaccines out, because that gets us back to normal. It's right there. The quicker we can get a large portion of the population vaccinated, then we can be there in Brainerd and be there in Pomona and be there in Arizona and be there in Vegas and do the Ferris wheel and do all that stuff. It's just as simple as that. Let's get them out. Let's see what the Dodge Pro Stock team ended up here in Newark with Dale Ike. Yeah, I wish I knew who you were. That's because your name did not come up on the Facebook thing. But yeah. Right. And the big break-in and all that. That was really dramatic times. And the cover of the magazine with the fiery explosion out the hood scoop. Like, what happened there? What happened? Everybody knows. Let's see. Norwalk, can't wait. Yeah, that's it. Just got to get to the point where we drive those numbers down. See, at the mile highs, look, I'm under the impression at this moment that I'm going to be at these places. But it all has to do with the national health. That's it. National health. All right. So final thought. This morning, General Motors had a big announcement. They had a big presentation. The CES, Consumer Electronics, I guess, is going on, and they ripped off the Engine Performance Expo and did the whole thing virtually. It was kind of interesting to watch. And they're showing their new electric architecture. I want to go on the record saying I do not like the new General Motors logo. As a GM guy, Pontiac in particular, and Chevrolet, of course, someone who drives a Cadillac now, they have taken the General Motors logo that I know and have always liked and found to be classy and cool and powerful and represent, and they have changed it to something new. You can see it. I don't have it in my files here, so you'll have to see it. Lowercase g, lowercase m, underline under the M. I'm against it. All right. I don't like it. But it is what it is. They've already made the decision. Just like when Formula One bought Formula One, they changed their F1 logo to something new. Everybody wants to put a new imprint, and every once in a while you have to refresh your logos, and I understand and I get it. They all do it. It's part of business. But this one, like, do I hate it like poison? No, I don't hate it like poison, but I definitely don't think that the logo needed to be updated. But then again, they do so much research for these things. My wrong color, the blues, everything is wrong about it, right, Mike? It's awful. But they're competing with Tesla, and they put up, and I posted on my personal Facebook page, and you guys can see it all. It's going to be very available. They talk about their new electric architecture and how everything is going to be electric, and it just makes me feel like, wow, technology is really moving forward. The Tesla stock is like over $800. And for whatever reason, everybody is just loving Tesla. I talked a little bit about it last week. The Tesla Model 3 that runs 820s, whereas my dad's GTO goes 850s in the 8th mile. And I can't get the power to the ground, but these things just go straight down the racetrack. And it just, we're in a very interesting time right now where, look, Monica, the logo looks weak, not strong and bold. I agree with you, Monica. But maybe that's what the next generation views as is. I'm just making it up right now, man. I got no idea. But, you go through that whole process and you come out with that. Again, it's not new Coke. Okay. It's not like a total catastrophe, but it definitely, I'm not seeing it just yet. Maybe things like this grow on you, but I don't see it just yet. Let's see. Ford as well, everything going electric except for the support meeting charging stations. Brian Loans just did a review of the Mach-E, which just won SUV of the year. And full disclosure, I have some Ford stock, like 8 shares. I want everything to be a success. I want our big three automakers, especially Ford and General Motors, to, pull themselves into an area of success. If Tesla is that fantastic, then they got to do some of these things. The market, it decides. The market decides. Let's see. It's bad. Yeah, it's bad. You know what? I should have brought up a photo of it, but you guys can all search for it. You see it everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. I wanted to get in on it on Ignition, but I never did. Not last night, at least. We'll talk about it next week. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Back to Verk. All of you, back to Verk. Get to it. Get back to producing something. Okay? Unless you're going to take a few minutes and go to the WFO store and buy a face covering, or join the Patreons. Welcome to JJ, who is a new Patreon this week, experienced his first Monday motivation show yesterday. And the Patreons get to be the live studio audience, some of them, each week on Ignition. That's kind of cool. Trying to offer more and more special, unique content for the people that, yes, let's face it, they pay for the show. They pay a monthly fee to get special content and get behind the scenes with WFO. It looked dumb, says Phil. It looked dumb. Yeah, it looked dumb. It's not the big, bold, historic General Motors. Like, imagine the New York Yankees logo, the Tiffany NY you see behind it. My head is blocking. Imagine if that was like lowercase. It just, there are some logos that you just don't change. You can shine them up or give them some depth, or I felt like GM's logo was one of those logos, but time will tell. The stock is already up. It was up around $48. They were getting a lot of positive feedback. The more money they make, I guess that's good. But little things like artwork, just dated my 2006 Cadillac CTS-V. It's obviously from another era, which is kind of a good thing, too. Thanks to Alan Reinhart for coming on the show. Yeah, I have last General Motors car, LS2. Yeah, Monica, leave the Yankee logo alone. Can you imagine? And then again, by the way, they can't get the DJ LeMahieu thing right at all. Very upsetting, Yankees. Very upsetting. He says he's dismayed by your tactics. This is unacceptable. What is acceptable? The archive is open. Check out WFOradio.com. We'll see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. Austin Proc. That's the plan.